How to use MySQL in PHP? Definitely, since PHP is being used as a server-side script, we will have to interact with the database, and whatever data is coming from the client end, as a PHP script running on the server, I may have to interact with the database, may have to retrieve the data, and may even have to store the data, so that uh, I will be able to provide a response to the requests which are coming from the client, right? Which are directed towards the PHP script. Okay, fine. So firstly, we need to connect with the database, and for doing so, we will use the MySQL I connect method, MySQL I underscore connect method, to which we are providing the name of the server, considering we are having a local host. So we are putting here local host. Then followed by use the password for the database server and the database at actual to which we want to connect. Let us consider it is DB1, right? Name of the database. Fine. Okay. So there are two ways basically in which we can perform this connectivity from PHP or between PHP and MySQL. One is the object-oriented way, and another one is the procedural way, right? So we are following the procedural way. In case if you are using the object-oriented way in a different scenario, then the method which is used or the function which is used to perform the connectivity is called just MySQL I, that much only. Okay, fine. So whatever connection we have established, we are storing a reference for that in the variable con over here, right? And once we have established, we will check whether the connection is performed properly or not by seeing the value which is present in the con variable. If it is true, then it will print connected successfully. If it is not, then in that case, we will execute a method called die, right? What is die method? Simply like we use exit 0, right, in CNCPP. So the same method, sort of method in PHP script is die. So it will print the message whichever is provided as argument to the die method, and it will exit from the script. Okay. So what we are doing, we are printing the connection error message by calling MySQLi underscore connect underscore error function inside the die function, right? And we are printing a connection error message, whatever the default connection error message is there. Okay. Everything, the connectivity part, not to mention separately, has been done in the PHP script, right? Observe this. Fine. Once the connection is done, we are going to see that how database can be created through the PHP script. Again, for creating a database, we'll firstly have to connect with the database. But now, if you are seeing over here, MySQL I underscore connect method is having only 3 arguments because we are not connecting directly to any database, but we are connecting to the database server firstly, and then we are trying to create a database, right? So firstly, we'll establish a connection from the PHP script to the database server. Then we will fire a SQL query. Query statement is create database, the standard create database statement in MySQL. Right? We have prepared a string, and then we have passed the connection object and the SQL string as argument to the MySQLi underscore query function. Fine. And then we are printing it out. If it returns true, if the query is executed, it will print database created successfully. Otherwise, it is going to print a MySQL error message, whatever error occurred, right? It is not a connection error, but it is a query execution error. That is why the function name is MySQLi underscore error. Fine. Okay, and then finally we are closing the connection object. Any doubt by far? Trivial steps, nothing, no different step. We have already seen the connectivity in case of servlets, in case of JSP. The same steps are being followed. The functions which are used in PHP are a bit different. That's all. Is it fine? Okay. So next thing is, after we create the database, we have to create table using our PHP script. So again, we will connect with the database now, providing the fourth argument as the database name to the MySQL connect method, right? And then the SQL query statement will be having our create table query with all the attributes defined, whatever we require in the table as columns. And then we'll fire that query using the same MySQL underscore query function, right? What we did for create database, the same thing we are firing the query and we are getting the table created, right? No different. Okay. Next, we have to select, once we have created the table, we will insert some data into the table. But if the table was already created, in that case, we will have to select the data. So let us see the selection part first. Right. Again, for selection, we have to establish connection. We have done the same. We are checking whether the connection is established properly or not by using the if control and passing the connection object to it. We are checking it out. Then we will prepare the SQL statement for selection from the respective table. Considering the table name is stud, we are preparing a selection statement as select star from stud. And then we are firing that query as usual by using MySQL underscore query method. Now, once we have done that, whatever records are fetched, those will be stored in our result object, or what we call it as the result set, right? So we can consider RS to be a result set for us, which accommodates all the records which are fetched by this given query, right? Now, in order to fetch one record at a time, we will require the number of rows which are fetched, right? So we have a function MySQL underscore rows underscore num underscore rows. So it will return the number of rows which are present in this result set object. And we are storing it in a variable n rows, right? Next, we are checking whether the variable is having more than 0 rows. Only if it is having some rows, then we are going to print it. And what we are doing is we are fetching one row at a time, and we are from the result set, we are fetching one row at a time, and we are creating a associative array for that particular row. Understood? So whichever column names are there or attribute names are there, those will be the keys, and that row values will be the value for that particular key. I hope you all are getting, right? So in order to convert every row present in the result set into a corresponding associative array, like a key value pair array, we are using this function, MySQL underscore fetch underscore assoc. Right? So you can read the comment over here. What it does, it fetches a row from the result set and in such a way that it is a associative array. Understood? So now once we have got that associative array, we are assigning some name to that array. For example, the associative array name is row, right? Over here we are naming it as row. And then we are accessing the value by mentioning the key. That is nothing but the name of the column, right? By mentioning the key, I'm mentioning ID, which must be the column name in the database. And you can see that I'm specifying a curly brace around this variable, right? Whatever array key array value I'm getting as a result, that will be dynamically updated for each row, isn't it? So that is why it is a standard practice whenever the variables are dynamic in nature, we should mention a curly brace around those variables, right? So that is why we are printing it in this particular way. So it will print ID string followed by the ID which is fetched for the first row, and then it will break, and below that it will print the first name, last name, so on and so forth. For all the records which are there in the result set, the same drill will be performed. So remember this function, this is very important. How the records from the result set are accessed one at a time. So they are accessed in the form of a associative array. Okay, fine. Yeah, finally, if there were no records present, we are printing no results, and we are closing the connection object. Okay. Then going ahead to insert the data into our database, we again perform the connection establishment part. We are checking the connection. We are preparing our insert query the same trivial way. We are providing the insert query and storing it in a variable. We are firing that query, and then we are checking, uh, we are firing that query as a part of if condition, so that if it returns true, we can print that the record has been added successfully. Otherwise, we'll print the SQL query execution error message, whatever it is there, right?